else got him covered.
You can really see how violent that thing is from here. Beautiful.
Well, hey, and welcome back to Mr. Rodder's Neighborhood. Our tunnel ram project on the Clevor 427 has worked out pretty good. Payoff is all right. We went to the No Name Nationals in Sykeston, Missouri at Jefferson Motorsports Park on the 21st to the 23rd of September. The neat thing about it was I literally just pulled this thing out of the garage. I hadn't done anything with it for a couple of years and decided to, hey, I'm going to get it together and we're going to run at the No Name Nationals. So it's paid off because I ended up bringing home a couple of trophies. We got 3 of them here. The Best Engineered Award, which I was, I guess, super surprised about. I did not expect to win that. I got the Low ET Award, and then we won the 28-10-5 class. But it's not over because, yes, we did good at the No Name Nationals, but what I was really striving for was get into the 5s before the end of the season. And we're still not there yet. I have a few runs that we'll add in here. I got some video of some runs, thanks to Bad Tree Productions. And Wilburn.
It's a 67 Ford Mustang Coupe. Car number 77. Please be Jenny as soon as possible. Immediately, if not sooner. All right. Dallas trips and timers. Woo! I'm not going to tell you because you're going to be an outlaw at 10-5. He doesn't want to tip his hands, but I'm going to tell you, folks, that was quick. And there's a little more in it.
Who got to videotape me when I was making a few passes. The other thing was I got some pictures, a few pictures of the event, and I'll enter them here somewhere, and we can go through each individual picture. It was more or less this. I had some pictures of me getting the car ready. After I got the tunnel ram on there and the throttle body's on and everything kind of working, I realized that the hood hit. So I had to do some fiberglass work on the hood, which was the cross bracing, the support bracing on the bottom. I had to cut it and move it forward, and hopefully it maintained the strength of the hood while clearing the throttle bodies on top of the Clevor here. The car ran really consistent. I started having issues with the fuel pump. We had issues with traction, and of course that comes with more or less having a 28-10 tire, not a 28 by 10.5, but it's only 10 inches wide. And I did that kind of on purpose because the 28 by 10.5 would have been awfully close to rubbing on the inside of the inner fender in the rear. So I figured I could live with losing a half an inch, not a big deal. And it worked out okay, but we just had to have a really good burnout, solid burnout, and then line it back up into tracks that you just laid in the groove, right? Now, everything did go pretty good. We found out I had a caliper dragging on the front, which kind of happens when they sit for a long time. We ended up checking both front calipers. Professor P and I checked both front calipers to make sure everything was working the way it's supposed to, and it appeared it did. It's just this passenger side front caliper decided it no longer wanted to retract when there was no pressure on it, so we just worked it back and forth a few times and got it functioning. I noticed that when I was pushing it through tech, it was really hard to push, and the car doesn't weigh a lot. It only weighs 2,650 pounds, and for a race car, that's fairly light. So when you go to push it, it's generally noticeable on how easy it is to push. But it was quite difficult, and I couldn't figure out what was going on, but we figured it out. It was a caliper. The other thing was that I thought I had a fuel pump going bad. Well, it just so happens that when you let them sit for a long time, the fuel system gathers some, like, what I found in the filter, the pre-filter for the pump, was some kind of gelatinous goo. I don't know what that's technically from. I stored the car and I ran it on 93 octane without any ethanol, and I ran it through until it ran out of fuel, and then I drained the rest of the fuel out of the fuel line. So I don't know what that gelatinous goo was. It had to be something that was probably either on the return side or it festered in the pump somehow, but it became like jello, and it got stuck in the pre-filter for the primary fuel pump. But I got both of them cleaned out now, and the next step is going to be phase 3, what I was calling phase 3 on the Thunderbird, which is we realized that the higher you put the injector, the more power it makes on a tunnel ram. NHRA Pro Stock, when they went to fuel injection in like 2011 or 12, they realized that the higher you put the injector, the better it worked. And I came up with a plan to do it for the cost-effective guy. So as you can see, we got the fuel rails, and the injectors are very much down low on these runners on the tunnel ram. And I had that made that way. The intent was to put some more injectors up top, and it just so happens that these throttle bodies have spots for injectors. So what I'm going to do is we're going to add in some fuel injectors at the top, some fairly small ones. They're 24 pound per hour injectors, and I'm just going to piggyback them directly off of the injector harness for the 42s I already have in it, which are, I believe, probably not enough to make all the power that this thing is making now, because they're usually good about 650 horse, and we've crested that. I know it made 650 to begin with before we put the tunnel ram on, so I imagine it's probably adding 30-40 more horse to it, and it just needs a little bit more injector. So we're going to solve that by leaving the 42s in the bottom, the lightning injectors in the bottom, and up top we're going to put some 24s, but then it'll add in the extra fuel that I needed, but it also does something, another effect that no one really considers. Okay, and this is where the Pro Stock guys figured it out. When the fuel is atomized from a carburetor, it's essentially coming in directly above your throttle blades, and it cools the air coming in the engine, right? And that cooling effect is what the Pro Stock guys determined was why the cars were off by 3/10 as soon as you put fuel injection on them. It flowed better, the fuel injection was more responsive, but what was causing it to lose power? Why were they off by 3/10? And so it was because of the cooling effect that was provided by the venturis in the carburetor and the fuel being atomized. It cooled the air through the entire plenum. And so that's what we're going after here. We're going to put some injectors in the top, and that's going to be phase 3. And hopefully I can get it out to the track maybe test it over at Buffalo Valley, maybe this weekend or the following weekend, before the weather starts to go south and we really start to look like fall and winter time frame. So I got enough fuel just for a couple more squirts down the track, and that's what we're going to shoot for. So I'm shooting for the 590s before I put it away this year. So hopefully you enjoyed the pictures, and I'll see you later.